In this video, I will discuss the issue of the question of whether or not we can use the rules of replacement on parts of lines. So, on page 138, Pospisil says, we will apply these four rules, the rules of replacement, so that's double negation, De Morgan's law, contraposition, and arrow. Like all the other rules we have adopted, to entire lines, but not to line parts. And then there's a little footnote, number 7. So what footnote 7 at the bottom of the page explains is that it is perfectly valid to apply these rules to parts of lines, but that he has chosen not to allow it for the sake of making the rule set simpler. This is arguably not true, but whatever, that it makes it simpler. Certainly, I'll bet it makes it simpler to program the software. I'll bet that was true, and that might have been part of the motivation. However, as he notes, your instructor may allow you to apply these rules to parts of lines if they choose to do so. Well, I do. It's totally fine with me if you apply the rules of replacement, so the rules of double negation, De Morgan's, arrow, and contraposition, to parts of lines, as well as to whole lines. However, there are two things to be aware of while doing that. One is that this is only okay with the rules of replacement. In other words, none of our other rules can be applied to parts of lines, just in case you're thinking something like that. And the second thing to be aware of is since Pospisil doesn't allow you to use the rules of replacement on parts of lines, doing so in the software will cause you to get error messages for any lines you do that on. You'll just have to use your own judgment on those lines to know if you're doing it correctly or not. So you can't depend on the software to tell you if you're doing it right, if you're going to apply them to parts of lines. So what's the upshot of allowing the rules of replacement to be done on parts of lines? So, because Pospisil doesn't allow the rules of replacement to be applied to parts of lines, that's why he needs so many versions of a particular rule. So, for example, in De Morgan's laws, there are the following two versions. It's false that A and B gives you not A or not B. Then you have the same thing, but now the A and B inside the conjunction are also negated, and that gives you then a disjunction without any negations. However, if we can use the rules of replacement on parts of lines, we don't need this second version. We can use the first version and the rule of double negation to get the same effect. So let me show you how that works. So suppose we have the assumption it's false that not A and not B. Well, if we apply the first version of De Morgan's to that, we get the formula not A or not B. Now that's kind of ugly, and maybe those negations, they're not useful to us. They're just getting in our way, so we want to get rid of them. No problem. We can just do that using the rule of double negation. We're applying the double negation rule to the not A, just that part of the formula, and then also to the not B part. And you could do that in 2 steps if you wanted to, or you can do it in 1 step. As long as you're applying the same rule twice, it's fine to do it on just 1 line. Don't apply 2 rules to 2 different parts of a formula and do it on 1 line. That would get confusing. But as long as you're applying the same rule, especially in a straightforward case like this, if it's really complicated, you might not want to you might want to do it in stages. So you see that gives you exactly the same effect as the second version. Now, it takes you 1 more line in your proof to do this, but it means 1 less rule to memorize. So for me, that's the main upshot of being able to use the rules of replacement on the parts of lines, is that we can get away with less rules in our derived rule set. And I think that's helpful because I think there are too many rules in there and too many versions of the same rule, and it's easy to get confused. So what I would suggest you do is you play around with this a little bit. If you think you want to try using the rules of replacement on parts of lines, try it out and see like which rules of replacement you can then do without. And then maybe you can pare down your sort of short list of the rules of replacement that you tend to use. Or you can not. You can just use all of Pospiesel's versions. You can not apply them to parts of lines. Whatever makes you comfortable. Either way is equally valid. So it's up to you.